parsha we read this past Shabbat, vayishlach, picks up Jacob's story as an adult with 2 wives and 2 concubines and 11 sons, coming back from Haran to Canaan and reuniting with his brother Esav, his twin brother, whom last he saw he was running away from Esav because Esav had threatened to kill him after Jacob had stolen the firstborn's blessing. And we come to the famous scene of Jacob wrestling with the angel after he's left all alone at night. And there are many midrashim that explore who this angel was and what he looked like, what he represented. And the ones that are my favorites are the ones that connect him to Esav, who say either that the angel was actually Esav, roused by God in the middle of the night and sent to meet Jacob, or some kind of dream apparition that represented Esav, or an angel wearing Esav's face. Regardless of how you slice the details, I love the idea that Jacob had to face his brother and wrestle with the issues that his brother raised in him at night, and kind of the darkness of his own psyche before he could face him in the light of day and really reconcile with him. And so what this does is sort of bookends Jacob's life as a young, powerful adult with episodes of wrestling. By the end of this week's Parsha, Jacob already sort of is receding into the background as the elderly, somewhat frail patriarch. Next week, with Vayeshev, the brothers, Joseph and his brothers, come to the fore of the story. And so Jacob's life as the powerhouse, as the kind of main character of our family story, is bracketed by he and his brother wrestling in Rebekah's womb before they're born, and then bracketed again by wrestling with Esau in this night vision right before they're about to meet again. And I want to tie that back to something we started to explore last week in My Dvar Torah, which is the names that Rachel and Leah give to the sons that they and the handmaids bear to Jacob. And as I was saying last week, the first 5 sons, their names are pretty straightforward. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Dan. All pretty clear Hebrew. And then we get to Naphtali, who is the second son of Bilhah, the handmaid of Rachel. And when Rachel names him, she says something that isn't easy to translate. She says, Naftulei Elohim niftalti im achoti ve'acholti. JPS says, a fateful contest I have waged with my sister and won. Nothing in that phrase says contest or fateful to me. Everett Fox, who's renowned for being a more kind of literal translator, says, a struggle of God. I have struggled with my sister and won, which is a little bit closer. It gets that God, Elohim, in there. Wasn't until I went to BDB, the kind of standard biblical dictionary, and looked up this word naftuli, that I really understood it better. It comes from the root pei tav lamed, petal, which means twisted. And so the image that's conjured here is of Rachel and Leah really twisted up, all up in each other's business, wrestling with each other. And so the 2 images of Jacob and Esau wrestling now have a third image in the middle of these 2 sisters. And in all 3 cases, what's so powerful to me is that this is not a fight at a distance. Like, you're over there, and I don't want to deal with you at all. This is the wrestling. It's so bound up. It so understands the intimacy and the interconnectedness of their lives that they somehow can't get away from each other. And now we know that when Jacob wrestles with the angel, he gets his name changed to Yisrael, God wrestler, and that becomes the name of our people. And as I was looking at Naphtali in the dictionary, I had my breath practically taken away, because the next entry that's from the same root is Ptil. And any of us who daven Shachrit on a regular basis and come to the Shema in its fullness will know that word. V'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf Ptil tchelet. Right, now, my talis doesn't have tchelet, doesn't have blue thread, but the Ptil is this thread on the tzitzit that actually makes this into a talis. And so the Ptil, the twistedness, you can see here how it's kind of twisted, is the physical marker that reminds us of all the mitzvot we're supposed to follow. And it surrounds us when we're davening. Traditionally speaking, Jewish men would wear talit katan all day. And so connecting that to Naphtali, into this battle that Rachel and Leah are waging with each other, means to me that there's a feminine energy that's injected into what otherwise feels like a very masculine kind of struggle, wrestle kind of imagery, that it draws on both halves of the kind of human gender experience. Whether you take that to mean that there's two different energies there and they're both involved, or it kind of degenders the whole thing, I think both are valid readings. But this idea that when we're davening and we're wearing our tzitzit, our patil, we're also connected deeply to that experience of wrestling with God and being so closely bound up with God that sometimes it's hard to know where we start, where we end, and God starts, and kind of that symbiotic relationship. Even when there's struggle involved, there's also so much closeness that you really can't let go, that you're always deeply, deeply engaged.